From KAMR Local 4 News, your local election headquarters, this is Politics Today.
The Amarillo Economic Development Corporation meeting hours after the City Council meeting this past week. Details from Tuesday's discussion and what's next for the progress of that organization. And as City Council returns to work, we're sitting down with Amarillo Mayor Stanley. We'll take a look at the focus for Amarillo in 2025. Thanks for joining us this morning on Politics Today. Amarillo City Council back to work as they head into this new year. After Tuesday's council meeting, the Amarillo Economic Development Corporation met to approve its amended bylaws. Politics Today's Blas Guerrero explains some of the changes and what's ahead for that organization.
Hours after the Amarillo City Council approved Articles of Incorporation, AEDC met to review and approve their amended bylaws.
Articles of Incorporation, which is now the Certificate of Formation, that's your organizing document. So that's the highest document that you can have in your organization. And then you have bylaws that doesn't necessarily dictate policies, but dictates the things that you have to follow.
Big changes include all projects must be individually considered and approved by the board and the city council, and no line items in the budget can be shifted to another line item without the same board and council approval. In addition, the new bylaws now require city council approval for any future policy changes.
The proposed bylaw change, obviously it's subject to city council's approval. They would have to approve all policy changes at the AEDC.
Directors may now be removed by the city council at any time with or without cause. Furthermore, any vacancies in director positions will be filled by the city council. Mayor Stanley says the importance of transparency is to ensure the public how their taxpayer dollars are being spent.
Very important that you are showing monthly and biannually and annually on your budget how much you're spending, where the money's going, and why. And so these speak to these issues that we need to develop the appropriate relationship that we want between the AEDC and our taxpayer.
With the AEDC's board approving the bylaws, the final approval for the amended bylaws will now need approval by the City Council.
The AEDC board discussed two City Council approved projects. Those include a land purchase agreement with Pacific Cheese for expansion and an agreement with AAA Cooper to build a regional transportation hub, creating up to 60 jobs and boosting the local economy. As the Amarillo City Council gets back to business, Mayor Stanley sitting down to talk about how they're focused now on public safety and infrastructure. Coming up after this quick break, we're going to hear more about the mayor and the city's plans for 2025 in this exclusive interview. We are grateful for the opportunity to sit down with Amarillo Mayor Stanley, really just to kind of talk about the past term and then what is moving really forward with Amarillo. First of all, we'll start back in this past year. What are some of the things looking back that you guys are proud of that you were able to do through city leadership?
I know it never looks like we always love each other and we've enjoyed working together, but if you look back over the last year and a half really now, which has been the fastest year and a half of my life, and just so much. The amount of volume and the pace, the speed we've ran at, and the work that's been done. When you get elected, you think to yourself, there's 3-4 things I'd like to get done. This council has gotten 50 things done. Yeah. And so you look at the chemistry makeup of the council, you look at a budget that was able to resource an additional $29 million within the given, revenues, prioritize public safety, truly get orange cones all over this town, which I apologize you're having to drive around the orange cones, but it is our job to get those streets and roads repaired, and we're doing that. Infrastructure, new city manager, the list goes on and on. And so I started making a list, and I got to like the second page of just accomplishments, and so I can take no credit for any of it. Right. It truly is the team and the staff working together on behalf of the citizens. But the one thing that we've done, we've had a service fidelis mindset, which just means faithful servant. And so it's the truest form of public service where you're saying, it's not about me, it's not my agenda, it's I work for you.
Okay.
And I want to know, what can I do to help you today? And we treat our customers, our taxpayers like that. And that is where we've been. And so everything from there has just been statistics.
So you feel like you guys were able to accomplish a lot in just those 2 years?
Really, yeah. And we've got 6 months left,
Yeah.
5, I guess, 5.5 or whatever it is to really get all the way through. And so far, Councilmember Kraft's the only one who said he's not coming back. We don't know the other, 3 of us exactly what we're going to do, but I think you'll know here within a couple weeks. And then, of course, Les is going to come back, and I'm thankful to have him coming back on board.
Well, you brought that up. Are you coming back? Have you decided yet?
I'll just be very real and transparent with you. Like, I'm struggling. It's been a rough, couple years, and so this is my second tour of duty, is what it feels like. So I had an uphill climb for 2 years on council, and then we have pushed really hard. So, my beard keeps getting thicker because I'm trying to hide how tired my face looks.
I think most people don't understand the work and the time commitment it takes to be a leader here in the city.
Well, and I think you have to identify, you have to get comfortable with who you are. We really are kind of an agent of change. And so we got on board in a place where we had to make some of these changes, and we're still making them. Right. And so nothing that we've had that we got to carry has been kind of a light load. It's been a very heavy load. So I respect the fact that Councilmember Kraft was like, man, I'm going to finish really strong here and move on. I feel like I'm not finished. I feel like I've got to keep going, but I'm just not comfortable there yet to
Right.
commit. And so I don't know yet. Honestly, it depends on the day. I have some days where I'm like, man, I'm done. Yeah. You know what? I can check it in. We've done a good job. And then I have other days where I'm just so committed to where we are, and it's not finished, and nor that it'll ever be, but that I've got to keep going. And so I'm going to give myself probably January.
Okay.
But I will say this, from the truest heart of a public service, I encourage everybody who's standing out there, and I know this isn't good political gamesmanship, because normally if you had a seat, you're an incumbent, you put your name out first, you try to run off everybody.
Right.
I'm the exact opposite. So everybody that feels like they have a calling, that they're going to regret not doing this, sign up. Come and run. Let's run a race, and let's let the best, most qualified person get selected. And if there's another person out there that's more qualified or can handle it, I will champion that and help them.
I mean, it feels like you've been drinking from the water hose from day one. By the time you come in, we had that original flooding, some big subject matter that you had to go through, and then we've had the AEDC, we've had sanctuary cities. So these have not been small items that you guys had to take on.
All heavy topics. And then if you look at budgets and finances, we've made a lot of changes. And then new city manager, you think about like all of the stuff with, our interim city manager and the I'll just call it ignorance or inexperience of taking an existing employee, putting him as an interim, and then still having to go out for a search. I wish we had not put him in that position, because it caused a lot of internal conflict. But there's no playbook that you get to read up on. You just got to get out there and fire away. This council's done a fantastic job. I've loved the experience. I'd never say it's been fun, because I think it's too much, work, and it's too close to you to say it's been fun. But man, it's been a good experience. It's been worth it. And I couldn't be more thankful for what I've learned. But once again, I would just say, Andy, I couldn't be more proud of council as a whole, even though I'm at the same time recognizing the missteps that any council makes in not knowing how to handle a position. Sanctuary City's a great one. I can't state my position, forcefully enough, that I believe abortion is murder, and that I believe that we have to protect those unborn children, that they're actually patients. We perform surgery on these patients in the womb, and I can't state that position enough there and be recognized as pro-life. I'm championed on the other side because I voted for taking this to the ballot. So I worked too hard. We tried too hard to try to get something there. It had some things in there that we felt like were extraterritorial, took jurisdiction that we didn't have. And because of those few little things, it had to go to the citizens, or else I was trying to manipulate. And so you can't say you're not a politician and be on the political court, but you sure can try to behave as a public servant and not a politician. And that just means you got to care less about what it looks like and less about your reputation and more about character and doing what you really truly have peace with. And so, like, I have peace with that vote.
Right. And at the end of the day, you could have voted. The council could have just gone for it. It didn't have to go to a vote. You guys could have voted, but you chose to send it to the voters. Voters shot it down. What happens next now with that? Are we done with that yet?
That's a great question, because I was asked before, and I was just being genuine and kind of upfront, like, we're not done with it. And here's what I mean by that. The state of Texas has, so let me give you a few statistics. Okay. So abortion is illegal in the state of Texas, right? There's a few exemptions for things, and then mifepristone, makes up roughly 65% of abortions, and so chemical abortion is something that is still taking place. So, in the aspect of we need to further protect life, what you're seeing the state do is the state has already said that it's illegal for you to distribute this drug. And you can't distribute this drug for this purpose. So the state's already enforcing that. But yeah, there's legislation down at the state right now that will make possession of that illegal as well. And then depending on what passes, they're making it a little easier for local governments to go ahead and take that enforcement piece.
You were very, very against abortion. You're very pro-life. And when all of this kind of played itself out, some people were coming after you. Sure. On your stance that were pro-life, or saying maybe we didn't do enough.
And in righting the wrongs, you have to be willing to face the facts.
Right.
The facts are is they were disappointed, and they had a right to be disappointed. Those individuals, I want to make sure that if they hear this, they know these are really good individuals with good intentions. Yeah. And so where we got crossed up was in doing too much, not too little. And it's an evidence of how heavy this job can be for people that care about their community. And man, I love my community. I just mean, I don't think that the local level is where this needs to be handled. I don't think that was what we learned, even though we were led that way. Right. And so what I mean by that is I think enforcement is something we will have to deal with across the state. Right. But then the legislation and the senators and the reps have done the work, and they're continuing to do the work. And so we want to support them in that, because I love the fact that Texas is a pro-life state, and that we are trying to do our job in protecting life.
As you get back into the swing of things in 2025, you said there was a huge list of things that you guys felt like you were accomplished. What still needs to be done? Like on your wish list of things, hey, we've got to get this fixed. Yeah,
so let's talk about two things, easy to piggyback on both, public safety and infrastructure. So infrastructure, let me go there just because it's the easiest one. It is the elephant in the room. It started off as like a $300 million elephant in the room, and now it's grown to $600 million. And so what I'm talking about is our wastewater treatment plant that has been so dilapidated. And I wish I was joking, but like I took a tour out there, and we got a red flashing light that had duct tape around it, because it's a warning light. It was annoying people. Yeah. So like the neglect that took place there years and years and years ago, that probably councils didn't even know about. Is beyond just repairs. It's going to be replacement. And so could not be more pleased and excited because of the work that Congressman Jackson is doing federally to help us resource this. So there are federal dollars that help cities like ours put in these new plants. And so we're hopeful. We did get a grant already that'll pay for the design of this, but then our ratepayers won't have to pay for this replacement if those federal dollars come, and so we don't know yet. Right. And we would never do anything other than remain cautiously optimistic. We'll have a plan in place in case that money doesn't come, but we've got to replace that infrastructure for Amarillo to grow, us to invite industry here, and then core services. That toilet needs to flush when you're one of our customers.
So it's been kicked down the can long enough that We've got to address this. This has got to be done.
Right, it's baling wire and duct tape right now. I mean, they're holding it together. Staff's doing a fantastic job keeping it running. But, you know, even optimistically, 4 to 5 years of what you have is a life expectancy of that plant. And then we have another plant on the north side of town, but it's undersized. Yep. And so you will have to replace this within the next 3 to 5 years.
The price tag you mentioned, $600 million, we might have to have some buy-in from some taxpayers.
Well, and if you do, it won't be a taxpayer, but it'll be a ratepayer. Okay. So what it'll do is it'll affect our sewer and water rate. Right. And so in order to keep cost of living low here where we are and to continue to maintain those rates where we need them, we are going to exhaust every resource. Yeah. And anytime there's a camera in my face, I'll keep talking about, you know, how thankful we are for representation here and how Jackson has championed this. And this is just one of many things that he's having to do. But this is the teamwork and the cohesiveness that we need. So, and then to go back to the other priority there would be public safety. And so what we think as council, and I think as you see other leaders step up that say they want to run and that they want to lead, I think they'll buy into this as well. If you don't have a safe city, you don't have a city that's going to grow, and anywhere you're going to retain families that want to stay. People will move away. And so what we have to maintain is we've got to make sure that these local heroes, these are all of our first responders, understand that they are vital. They're not just valuable, they're vital to our community. We've got to prioritize them.
Let's hit on AEDC real quick, especially with the meetings that just kind of wrapped up and all the things that we go through. Do we feel like that has been, the work has been done there and you guys are ready to move on from that issue? Are we past that point now?
I think the upfront dramatic responses are done. Okay. I think that the antagonistic, you know, misstep, I'll say, in a few things that have happened is kind of over with. Now we have a plan, and the fear of what could this do, what are you trying to do, are you going to do more, are you going to do too much, I think all that's going to subside here because those articles, which you know are now the certificate of formation, those are passed. We're on to bylaws and budgets at this point, and then we need to place a permanent board. And the last thing that we really have is that strategic business plan.
As the filing period has started, what would you say to somebody who's out there and they are considering throwing their hat into the ring for city leadership?
Well, two things probably. One, just make some phone calls and research so you understand what you're getting yourself into. And then two, if anybody can talk you out of doing it, you shouldn't do it. It's a life-changing, public-facing experience. And once you're in it, you're in it. But then if you know, if I don't do this, I'm going to regret it, then I think you're a candidate. And I think you should sign up, and I think you should get out there and run the best race. And then I love it when we get people that can criticize problems, criticize policies, troubleshoot everything, and then not criticize people. And that's where I want to stay, you know, as I run, if I sign back up, I want to stay where, you know, let's be critical over policies and solutions. But then the personal side of it, Amarillo can run really positive races, and we have historically, and I greatly respect that.
We unfortunately had to cut some of our interview with the mayor for time. We will have the full interview posted for you over on our website, myhighplains.com. I want to thank the mayor for sitting down with us. Looking now to an update on the state level. Can the Republican Party of Texas prevent a Republican candidate from running in the party's primary? That's a question that will soon be debated following a contentious Speaker of the House vote that went down in Austin. The chair of the Texas Republican Party said 36 House Republicans who voted for Republican Dustin Burrows to be the Speaker of the House could face censorship from the party. There were 2 Republican candidates. A censure would have to come from the county party level. Then the state Republican Executive Committee would decide how to penalize that member, and the penalties range in severity.
One, it could mean it's just a slap on the wrist and you know, don't do it again. The worst thing that could happen is remove them from ballot and tell them you cannot run as a Republican in the next cycle.
But can the Republican Party legally do that? A Texas law firm analyzed the legality of the party rules and said the Texas Election Code does not permit political parties to restrict ballot access. That according to a memo from the law firm. We're going to wrap things up on Politics Today right after this break. Thanks again for tuning in. One more quick thing before we go. We have some updates. City Council candidate filings are underway. That opened up this past week. The May general election will be here before you know it. The deadline to file is February 14th. Again, you can find it at myhighplains.com.